President Truman wipes out segregation in armed forces. Thanks for joining us. I'm Claire Kaikowski.
And I'm Sierra Wellman. On this day in 1949, President Harry S. Truman announced in his State of the Union address that every American has the right to expect from our government a fair deal.
In a suggestion to Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal policies, Truman announced his plans for policy reforms including national health insurance, public housing, civil rights legislation, and federal aid to education.
He increased the minimum wage, federal assistance to farmers, and an extension of Social Security. He also urged the suggestion of anti-discrimination on policies in employment.
Truman argued for a liberal agenda first brought on by Franklin D. Roosevelt.
But the nation's politics had shifted, which provided major obstacles to Truman's plan.
It's an act that will affect working Americans for years to come. An act established on June 23, 1947, restricted the power of labor unions.
Presented by Robert Taft and Fred Hartley Jr., President Harry S. Truman had feared this act would upset some principles of our society, but the veto he made for this law had been overcome. It is planned to amend much of the National Labor Relations Act of 1935 and put an end to parts of the Federal Anti-Injunction Act of 1932.
It allows the president to assign a board to examine union disputes when he believes a strike would endanger national health or safety, and take an 80-day injunction to stop the continuation of a strike.
It declares all closed shops or shops in which employees are required to join a particular union as a requirement in order to get a job and have to remain union members for the extent of their employment illegal.
It forbids jurisdictional strikes and boycotts. It also ends the check-off system, which is when the employer collects union dues for the company.
It forbids unions from acting in political campaigns and requires union leaders to take an oath stating that they were not communists.
President Truman is looking to go into a second term of presidency, but some people believe that Thomas E. Dewey is going to win by a huge majority.
Harry S. Truman is thought to be too weak of a president, and he is unable to tolerate conservative attack. What is your opinion on Truman?
I believe Truman has been struggling with his presidency, and I agree with the public. The newspaper got it right by saying Dewey is our next president.
I've seen headline after headline screaming Dewey's name. Everyone agrees that he has all the qualities to be a fine president. However, Truman is being praised for his courageous stand on civil rights.
I heard Truman presented a proposal to Congress guaranteeing the rights of blacks. He created much conflict among the Democratic Party. All of Mississippi's and half of Alabama's delegates walked out, totaling 35.
A newspaper was printed last night claiming Dewey defeats Truman on the front page of the Chicago Tribune. However, we found out this morning Truman won. What are your feelings on this turnout?
I think the headline is a cautionary tale for journalists about the dangers of being the first to break a story without being certain of its accuracy.
Now, even though only a few copies of the paper were published before the Tribune issued a second edition that backed off from proclaiming a winner, how close do you think the race between Dewey and Truman is?
I think that the race was probably very close. I believe Truman got very lucky with his victory.
You'll be surprised to hear that Truman won by a landslide. He won over 2 million popular votes. Truman won by over 100 electoral votes, the numbers being 303 to 189.
Oh wow, the press and I were both way off of who would win. I guess Harry Truman has more respect than people thought.
Truman's victory helped the Democrats regain the control of the House and the Senate. I think Truman's honesty and integrity were the reasons he won. Truman was also seen being photographed at St. Louis Union Station holding a copy of his premature obituary. Eventually, people will be able to laugh at this false front page, but for now, it's just Truman getting a kick out of it.
William Levy, you probably recognize the name. Levy has become a household name literally. He has revolutionized the housing market, making it more affordable for many of you to buy new homes and making it more attractive for builders to build those homes. Here to explain how the phrase Levittown came to be is William Levy himself. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Let's first begin. What is a levee town?
Levee towns came to be after my father, brother, and I started building homes, more affordable homes for families. The idea caught on with returning GIs, and within months, thousands of homes were popping up in the suburbs. The catch is, these are new, well-built, affordable homes for young families who want to start fresh.
Some people have compared your approach to building these homes to a car assembly line. Would you agree?
Yes, that's a good comparison. We built more than 17,000 homes in 4 years. We put people to work within, which in turn helped the economy. And we also gave people a choice. They were no longer forced to live either in just a city or rural area. They now can call a suburb a home.
How did the workers get these homes done so quickly?
We constructed the sites like an assembly line. There were 27 separate tasks. We assigned each task to a group of workers who would go from house to house, repeating their task. Trucks would deliver parts and materials. Carpenters would do their work, painters their work, and so on.
Is this always something you wanted to do?
Actually, there's a funny story behind all this. I always wanted to be a pilot, but I watched as my father and brother developed a home built on a lot I owned. The house sold quickly, and that's when my father, brother, and I developed Levy and Sons in 1929.
Kind of all in the family?
Yes, we all had our own jobs. My father dealt with landscaping, my brother designed the homes, and I managed it all.
Were you successful from the start?
Well, we had moderate success at first in the 30s, but when the war started, I put the business on hold to serve in the Pacific with one of the Navy Seabee combat construction sites. When I got back and got things going again in 1945, it was the company's great era of success. Millions of GIs and their families wanted new homes.
How did you do so well when the housing industry had crippled? The market wasn't meeting demand.
We bought 1,000 acres of land on Long Island and aimed to build 17,000 homes. We eventually even bought our own lumber yard in Oregon.
Some people call you the pioneer of suburbs.
I guess you could say that. What's interesting is most buildings average 4 to 5 houses a year. We were building more than 4,000 in a year.
You've been quite successful.
You could say that. The first Levittown community made the company $5 million in 1949. We built nearly 5,000 homes and sold them for more than $42 million. Then from the 1940s to the 60s, we expanded building all over the East Coast into Florida.
Then what happened?
My brother left the company in the mid-50s and my father passed, leaving me everything. By the late 60s, my net worth was $100 million.
What an inspiring story, Mr. Levy. Thanks for sharing with us tonight, William.
Thanks for having me.